Hi, this is the first episode in the Docker and Java series. And before we cover questions like, why would you want to use Docker anyway for Java deployments, we'll start with the basics. Installing Docker, getting it started, getting to a quick Hello World achievement, and avoiding many problems along the way. So let's give it a go. Okay, so as you might have guessed, it all starts with opening up a web browser and then searching for Docker. You click the Docker homepage, go to Get Started, and then when you scroll down, you'll see a download link for Windows, and I'm using Windows in this example, which redirects you to the Docker store, and as you can see, you need to log in to download. So click Please log in to download, and then you need to create an account, and that's needed to actually download and use Docker later on. And you'll get a file called Docker for Windows installer. And you're going to install it, and I'm not going to show you how to install that because your PC has to reboot a couple of times during installation. But we'll continue right after installing Docker. So you'll open up a command prompt, and there's three major things I want you to look out for when working with Docker. First of all, when you start the Docker daemon, you'll see it in your tab bar. And make sure to execute the Docker daemon as administrator. Make everything or execute everything as administrator just to make things easier for you. Second, make sure you're logged in here so that you can pull images later on, which I'll show you in a second. And the third thing is, which is a bit weird and counterintuitive, if you are having problems pulling images or any sort of HTTP timeout problem, go to Settings, go to Network, and here the DNS server, which defaults to automatic, just simply put it to fix 8888, and then it should work. Okay, now that we have everything out of the way, the Docker daemon is started, you've got the right DNS server, you're logged in, you have a command prompt, and you can check if Docker is installed. And you can do that by simply calling docker -- version. Now, as I just said, you need images to work with Docker. And what's an image? An image is basically just a template for your application. So it could be an Ubuntu operating system installed with an Nginx web server and your Java application. And then you can download these images, you can spread these images or create them and put them into repositories. And one of those repositories is the Docker Hub repository. Let's check out if we have any images installed. And you can call docker image ls, and you can see we have no images installed. So let's change that. And instead of starting with a, too simple Hello World example, I want you to get right into the nitty and gritty of Docker. So you're going to call docker run -it, which stands for interactive, the I, T for terminal, and then Ubuntu. Now what's going to happen? Docker run, actually, let's try it out. It says unable to find image Ubuntu latest locally. And now you can see it downloads Ubuntu, an Ubuntu image. And that's because docker run is actually two commands in one. It's a docker pull, which will pull the Ubuntu image from the official Docker repository. And then it will also run it. And running means, by default, every image comes with a default command that will be run. And in case of Ubuntu, that's a bash. And as you can see down here, suddenly the prompt changed. And you can see we're a root, and that's the host name 6869. So when you now, print out, you just want to make sure you're on a different machine, you can see it's the 6869 host. Whereas before I was in C/Windows. Now, if you want to look at every directory on the machine, you can see, it's a full Ubuntu installation and you can do everything you want now. You're fully isolated from your Windows host machine, so to speak, and you can do whatever you want. All right, that's quite nice. So now hit exit, which will stop the Docker container. And that's the first time I'm using the word container. I told you about images already. Images are templates and containers are instances of that template. So as you can see, there's a command docker container, also called ls. And by default, it prints out every container that's running on your machine. we just stopped our container. So you have to add --all, the option. And you can see there was a container with the ID 6869, whatever, made out of the Ubuntu image, and it was exited 27 seconds ago. Which in fact means if you now call docker run Ubuntu again, this time you won't download the Ubuntu image, but you start the container right away, and now you get a different host name. And that actually is a different container, a different instance, and has nothing to do with the instance or with the container that you booted up like a minute ago. That's all nice and dandy, but let's look at a more advanced example so that you don't stop the container, but you can actually detach from the container. Write docker run and then --detach, which will leave the container running. Publish 8080, and you'll see what that means in a second. It's basically a port forwarding between your container and your machine. --, give the container a name. Let's go web server, for example. And the container image is called nginx, because there's also a Docker image called nginx, which basically pulls down a Debian operating system with nginx pre-installed. Let's try that out. Right, and as you can see, that was a bit stupid because I'm still in my container, so let's exit the container. And now let's try again. So I'll just copy the command here, paste it in here. Now it says unable to find image nginx latest. It's pulling down the latest nginx image, as you can see. Takes a second, right? And now when you run docker container ls, you should see there's an nginx image or container running, created 10 seconds ago, and there's a port forwarding to port 80. When you open up Firefox now, go to localhost 80, and what you're seeing is a welcome to nginx message saying that nginx was successfully installed and is working. So with a single docker command, you just have an operating system up and running with nginx pre-installed. And now, because you detached from your nginx container up here, you can attach to the container again. And I want you to basically attach to the container again as an exercise, and then run a couple of commands in the container, like finding the nginx configuration folder and some nginx configuration files. And as an additional exercise, I want you to go to the Docker Hub homepage, and then simply in the comment section per email, paste me the 10 most popular images that Docker has at the moment, or the time you're watching this. That's it for this episode. Congratulations, you just had your first successful Docker experience. And in the next episodes, we'll go more into detail on when and how you'd use Docker in combination with your Java application. So let's get right after it.